Part 2, Chapter 9, Strategic Considerations. This is the chapter that redefined the word offensive, and if you only take one thing from this whole series, it is probably this one. Here is the definition, and read it slowly. Incident strategy is the intended position from which fire control and search tactics take place, within or outside the defined incident hazard zone. Position, relative to the hazard zone, not whether your boots are inside the building. Then it says, the part that changes your fire ground. In an offensive strategy, the fire attack can begin on the exterior or the interior, depending on conditions, though fire control and search will ultimately be completed in the interior spaces within the hazard zone. Beginning outside is inside the definition of offensive, and defensive gets defined just as tightly. Fire control from the safest, most effective positions outside the areas already lost, and search for life only in areas that have not already been lost, the exposures, and only when interior conditions, resources, and the safety system allow. Notice what that does. Defensive is not a synonym for nobody goes anywhere. It is a statement about which areas are still yours. Before any of that, Chapter 9 says, the initial strategy is built on pre-arrival factors, things you know before the wheels stop, existing reference material, pre-incident plans and maps, developed per NFPA 1660, giving you the structure, its contents, and its occupancy. What CAD can tell you, resources, estimated on-scene times, arrival order, dispatched occupancy type, known structural hazards, weather with wind first, occupancy status, and time of day, which drives visibility, whether people are home and how fast anybody else is coming. Then initial arrival factors, and the chapter gets granular. Building factors include the ones people skip, vertical and horizontal openings like a common attic or cockloft, concealed spaces, structural integrity, and the ventilation profile as you find it. Occupancy factors, the specific occupancy, commercial considerations, fire load, occupant load, contents, and then the three that decide whether you can do anything about it. Life hazard, not just are there people, but where, how many, whether they are incapacitated, whether spaces are compartmented, what the rescue will take, and what treatment they will need when you get them out. Arrangement, exposures and their distance and combustibility, direction of extension, wind, and whether you can even get apparatus in. And resources, what is on scene, staged, responding and available, response times, water supply, and built-in fire protection. One more that is easy to skim past, accessibility. Can you position apparatus so tools and equipment are actually usable? Can crews reach the structure by the most direct route to the fire? Are there barriers, fences, grade changes, security bars, or barricades that will delay entry? And what the entrances and egress points are actually like under present conditions. Access is a strategy input, not a logistics detail. Now the evidence. Section 9.7 is titled Assessment of Fire Dynamics to Determine Strategy, and it does something standards rarely do. It states the research conclusions in plain language. It says, case studies of line-of-duty deaths and near misses, plus the corresponding research, show that addressing what you can observe before going interior improved conditions for both firefighting and occupant survival. And then 4 findings that ICs, company officers, and firefighters are told to understand. 1. The quickest water on the fire is the best water on the fire. 2. Exterior fire control is an effective option. 3. A fire attack from the windward side is the safest option when wind is a factor. 4. Fire attack should be conducted from on grade with the fire or below it. Sit on number 1 for a second. The quickest water is the best water, not the most correctly positioned water, not the water from the doctrinally proper location, the quickest. That is a sentence with an argument built into it, and it is sitting in an NFPA document. Chapter 9 also wants you reading flow path before you pick a strategy, and it is specific about what to look at. The flow path is the route gases take from high pressure to low. Evaluate every existing opening to build a ventilation profile before you determine strategy. What to assess specifically? The neutral plane, relative to the size and physical position of the opening, and relative to the fire. The direction of flow at each opening, whether the flow is unidirectional, bidirectional, or dynamic, and the character of it, height in the compartment, turbulence, velocity, shape. Also, opening a door or window for your own entry changes the flow path, and that counts. And wind. The standard calls the impact of wind the most important weather consideration, and it puts a number on it. Wind speeds of 10 miles an hour or greater can create a high pressure on one side of the building and low pressure on others. 10 miles an hour with the right atmosphere can create blowtorch conditions. The 360 gets a whole section, and its job is described precisely. It exists to challenge and verify the A-side size-up you already made. Challenge first. And the standard says, outright this may flip your strategy, offensive to defensive, or defensive back to offensive. It also tells you who does it. The incident commander specifically, or through tactical level assignments covering the critical sides, when the geography or the size of the building will not let one person walk it. That is a real accommodation for big buildings and small crews written into the document. And use the thermal imager on the 360. The standard names it as a tool for the initial 360 to determine fire location, find extension, and prioritize which compartments need searching. Not just a nozzle-forward tool. So what actually decides the strategy? Chapter 9 gives one sentence that outranks the rest. The ability to control fire conditions in conjunction with locating occupants is the greatest consideration in determining the overall strategy. Not the fire alone, not the victims alone, the two of them together. The two, and the practical test for offensive. A fire company's positioning and its ability to extinguish is a key component of the decision. The right strategy is the one your crews can actually execute from safe and protected fire control positions, at the efficiency the incident needs, capability not appetite. If it is defensive, the chapter gives 3 objectives, ordered by size up and conditions. Confine, surround and drown, when building instability or the extent of fire precludes interior operations. Protect the exposures, when extension is foreseeable and needs mitigating. And no attack, when the products involved or imminent hazards mean the best option is to let it burn. No attack being written down as a legitimate strategic objective matters. It means choosing not to commit as a decision the document recognizes, not a failure of nerve you have to defend afterward. 2 housekeeping items that are not housekeeping. First, every department should have a risk management plan in writing. And the standard says risk management and critical factors are what drive the offensive or defensive decision, and should force a change when they fall out of balance with your extinguishment capability and the building's structural integrity. Second, declare it. The IC should announce the strategy over the radio as early as possible. And whenever the strategy changes, declare the new one, again, as early as possible. A strategy nobody heard is not a strategy. Locked in. Strategy is the position you work from, relative to the hazard zone, not whether you are indoors. Offensive attack can begin outside. Defensive still searches the exposures. The quickest water is the best water, and exterior fire control is an effective option. Wind at 10 miles an hour can make a blowtorch. The 360 exists to challenge your first read. What decides it is controlling the fire in conjunction with finding people. And you say it out loud on the radio. Part 3 is Chapter 10. Fire Control and Extinguishment, where the water actually goes. Read Chapter 9. Yourself, free access. Section numbers are in the description. Subscribe, and the next part finds you. Bring the irons.